In this video, I am going to explain exactly step by step what happens with a workplace needs assessment. So whether you're an individual who's been told by your employer that you need one, you're thinking actually perhaps this might be useful to me and you want to explain to your employer what it is, or you're an employer who is looking at workplace needs assessments and whether or not this can be helpful for your individual employees, then in this video I am going to explain also you'll know exactly what workplace needs assessment is and how they happen. My name is Jennifer. I am a neurodiversity specialist and HR consultant. I am a qualified workplace needs assessor with a postgraduate certificate in neurodiversity and lived experience through my own ADHD and dyslexia, and also mum to a neurodivergent child as well. So that's kind of how it came into my life and why neurodiversity became something that I talk about and something that I do. So firstly, what is a workplace needs assessment? Well, a workplace needs assessment is where we are looking at an individual. Usually it's an individual who is neurodivergent, may have a diagnosis, may not, it doesn't matter. The key is that we're looking at an individual and we're looking at the areas in which they struggle in the workplace. And this may be because they have come to you at the point of diagnosis or at the start of employment and said, I actually need some support to ensure that I've got reasonable adjustments in place. Or you've noticed there's some performance issues and it's come to light that there may be some neurodivergence there. There doesn't have to be. The key is that we're exploring with somebody what their challenges are and what might be the underlying causes of those challenges. And that means that we're looking at it from that perspective of not, oh, you're ADHD, therefore you need these adjustments, but from the perspective of this is the environment, the context, this is the individual, this is their challenges, and these are the things that can help them. From a legal perspective, a workplace needs assessment helps you as an employer to demonstrate that you've done all you can to put in place reasonable adjustments. It helps you to explain and define what is reasonable, to have those objective conversations when something goes beyond being reasonable, because you can say, actually, yes, we have considered this, and these are our reasons why it's not reasonable to implement, because that will sometimes be the case with the adjustments that we're recommending. But primarily, because a workplace needs assessment should be looking at the individual and the context, we should be looking at what adjustments would be reasonable in those circumstances. So I've talked about context a few times there, and that's really important for a workplace needs assessment, is that we're looking at context. And that's done by gathering background information before we even start the process. So a workplace needs assessment would have a booking form that goes with it. In that form, we're looking at gathering just some idea of where the challenges lie. So if you don't feel that you fit, if you don't feel the question is relevant, just ignore it. It's not a form that has to be filled in specifically to sort of get through the process, but it is about gathering that background information. It helps to identify if managers are seeing something that individuals aren't, or the other way around, because that helps in the feedback we give. But also this is where we gather that context feedback. So questions like, are you using a Mac or a Windows machine? Are you using Microsoft Office, or are you using Google Docs, Sheets, etc.? What technology are you using? It's going to have a huge impact on the recommendations that we give. They've got to be compatible with the technology stacks that you're already using, and it may be that some of those have already got features within them. But also, if you're not office-based, there's no point giving a whole load of desktop-based recommendations if you're a chef in a kitchen. We need to know that context, that environment, but also some context of like the team, the nature of the work, whether it's an open plan office, whether there's hybrid working, remote working, the manager's style, how they manage. All of these things all filter into that information we're collecting to be able to give recommendations that are based on reasonable adjustment. And once we've got all of that background information, that takes us into the actual assessment call. The actual assessment call will be about 2 hours long with the individual, and in this call it's a semi-structured interview. So I will go into this with a number of questions that I've got to ask. Depends on the individual, how many of those questions I end up asking, how much they just give me the information, how comfortable they are. Everybody's different, and so those calls look a little bit different. But the point is that we're looking at where are your challenges and where are your strengths as well. Really important that we look at both sides. But we're looking at where are your challenges and trying to look for patterns in those challenges that then help to identify the underlying causes behind them, looking at things that have worked for you in the past, haven't worked for you in the past, so that helps to tailor the recommendations. And that is the key information that is feeding into the recommendations that are being made. And that then leads on to producing a report. And in that report, we put strengths as well as challenges. I think that's really important. The report outlines the individual strengths as well as challenges. Nobody wants to see a report that is just a list of, these are all the things I'm not very good at. It can feel really demotivating. So those strengths are really important. We're looking at somebody's strengths, partly as well because employers can lean into those strengths when they understand them, as well as then balancing that with the challenges and then the recommendations that fit alongside those challenges. And so we can see exactly why each recommendation's been made. Really important that the individual sees this first and before it goes to the employer, just to make sure that we've understood properly everything that we've been told in that assessment call. There's no misunderstandings. And also just to build that trust as well with the individual, to make sure that they feel comfortable that this report about them is something that they've seen. And then if you do a workplace needs assessment with us, we also support with implementation, because implementation is really important. This piece of paper is useless if you don't do anything with it. And often with a workplace needs assessment, there's a long list of adjustments. There's lots of little things that can be done which enable somebody to do their job well. But it can be overwhelming to look at that list and try to implement them all in one go is going to be a nightmare in itself, especially for somebody, say, with ADHD, where we can get overwhelmed. It can be hard to sort of get organised and prioritise. So alongside the report, we have an implementation plan which looks at how you prioritise what you're putting in place, being able to mark off the things that perhaps you're already doing. Also, some of them will have options. So it might well be that actually there's a couple of bits of software that both do very similar things. Pick and choose the best one for you. So there may be a little bit of trial and error happening there, a bit of using free trials to see how things work. But also looking at how do we implement this in stages so that it can really help rather than just make the situation a lot worse. So that support with implementation, I think, is really important for making sure that you've got that smooth process and that you've then got to follow up and review. So we would then do a follow-up meeting 3 months later just to say, how are things going? Have the things worked? Are there things that we need to relook at because perhaps they didn't work or they didn't help and there's some other alternatives we could look at? Are there other sort of suggestions? Have other things arisen as a result? And if we are truly in a situation where we've put in place all the recommendations we can, there are no real other things that we can suggest, and this still hasn't resolved the performance issues or the challenges that someone's got, then that may well be where we're in the position of having to have that conversation around, well, what do we do next then? Where's the next steps in this process? And that's when we would go back into kind of HR head and looking at, well, what's the legal route? What's the steps we need to take? And providing you with the support to do that fairly and ensuring that the individual has genuinely had the opportunity to have these reasonable adjustments put in place and that we can genuinely evidence that they're not sufficient. They're not lowering the barriers enough to enable somebody to thrive in the workplace. So what makes us different to occupational health or access to work? Well, those two things are different, so I'll answer them separately. So occupational health tends to be medical model and reactive. So we tend to use occupational health when we're looking at somebody's fitness for work, whether there is anything that medically somebody needs in terms of support to be able to work, understanding if work is causing anybody any further issues with regards to a health condition. So there may be times where occupational health is needed alongside a workplace needs assessment, but the workplace needs assessment is much more proactive. It's very specifically about the adjustments needed with a neurodiversity specialism. So it needs to be somebody who really understands the challenges that come with various neurodiverse conditions and various neurodiverse challenges. So we've got somebody who truly understands that and can then also implement that by understanding what tools are out there, what software, hardware, resources. Access to Work is based upon a workplace needs assessment, but they don't speak to the employer, they just speak to the individual. So they're not taking into account the workplace context. They do at times have preferred suppliers or preferred recommendations. So if you're a company that are all Mac users, for example, and a tablet is needed, then we would certainly be recommending an iPad, which you're unlikely to get recommended by Access to Work. Having said that, with Access to Work, it is largely about the tools and adjustments that are needed that go beyond what is reasonably expected of an employer to put in place. So if further adjustments are needed, so let's say somebody has sensory challenges, which means getting to work on public transport is a challenge, they may be able to get things like taxis paid for through Access to Work, which would go beyond what would be expected as reasonable for an employer to be paying for. So Access to Work is definitely beneficial for adjustments that go beyond what we would consider to be reasonable adjustments. And if you're a small employer, they will pay more towards the adjustments than if you're a larger employer. So it's going to have more benefits to a small employer potentially to go to Access to Work, but there is unfortunately long waiting lists. So you can avoid those by going direct to as a private supplier for a workplace needs assessment. And with somebody like us, then you're also engaging from your point of view as the employer, and we're taking the full context into account. There are real benefits from workplace needs assessments, often from the very first meeting. I've had clients who've come back to me by the time I've given the report who have already said, we've already seen improvements in performance because little tips that were given during that initial call have been implemented already, and they're already starting to see some improvements before even putting in place more adjustments and the rest that's needed. I had one client tell me that out of their workplace needs assessment, they spent only £16 a month on software that was recommended. Everything else was either free or already available to them. They just didn't know they had it to use. They just needed somebody to point out that these tools were there and this is how they could use it. If you are looking for a workplace needs assessment and would like to work with me, there's details in the description below of how to do that, and check out my other videos on supporting those who are neurodivergent in the workplace.